All right, y'all, what's going on? Coach James here from Orange Theory Gresham. I am here to give you June 5th and 21st endurance and power focus. Jumping right into our 3G template. Treadmills, right? It's always beginning there. 14 and a half minutes of work. And we have some rounds to get through as we introduce surges back to the table. So if you remember in some previous templates past, we always like to talk about maybe rounding the corner or a short burst of increased intensity just for a relatively short time before settling back into more often than not a base, which is what we're happening today. So taking a look at the template itself, things are kicking off with a 2-minute base coming out of that warm up at the beginning of the day, where they'll really just take another opportunity to settle into some challenging but doable efforts. Their first surge coming around the corner is actually going to match the amount of time that they're in base. So they have a 2-minute surge where all parties, power walkers, joggers, and runners alike will increase speed by 0.1 to 0.3 miles an hour. Getting out of that 2-minute surge, they'll settle back into their paces before coming into their next surge, which will be 30 seconds less, but also an increased speed from 0.3 to 0.5. Now that pattern is going to follow out for 4 total rounds. Again, base is always going to settle back for 2 minutes, where the surge will decrease in time but increase in intensity. Now, because power walkers are a part of this process as far as speed is concerned, they'll be bouncing that 1 to 3% incline from their initial base. But there will be a time where maybe their speed is going to be too fast for them. Their feet just can't keep up with the constant increases, especially towards that 3rd and 4th round as you get closer to that 0.6, 0.7 add-on from their pace. That's where incline might be able to be adjusted a little bit higher for the sake of staying in that semi-uncomfortable surge range before settling back into their base efforts. That being said, treads will probably linger mostly in that high green zone between that 80, 83%. We are hoping to touch a little orange to get uncomfortable in those surges, but base is going to be that huge priority, especially on endurance days, right? Always settling back to a challenging but doable active recovery so that breath work and mechanics stay in place and engaged to get them through the block successfully. As they get through that final round, you'll notice 1 minute in base gets cut short a bit, but that's going to go right into a 30-second all-out finisher. Going to the rowers. 2 blocks there to get through, and block number 1 actually begins with a dumbbell exercise. A little unique setup here. Make sure those are out the day before or day of, as members maybe grab what dumbbells they need. They'll see a unilateral movement, single arm high pull for 6 on each side before they move into a 30-second all-out row. Simply put, they're gonna try to stay within 20 meters of that distance as they rinse and repeat. They'll get a better part of 7 minutes for block number 1. Now, block number 2 is also gonna start with a dumbbell exercise, but then into a 150-meter all-out row. So utilizing countdown settings for time in block 1, for distance in block number 2. Essentially, that's just gonna be a match or beat to see how fast they can get it done versus how far they get in that first block today. Again, finishers line up with treads, 30-second all-out by the end. On the weight floor side, might take a little bit more explaining, but we got a unilateral anchor block. So what you'll see getting to the weight floor side is 3 foundational exercises that are going to be integrated within the block, and in between each of those is going to be our anchor. You'll notice round number 1, they will see a single arm snatch, 4 reps on each side in between some of those more foundational movements for the round. When they repeat the round, they'll be switching out their anchor for a second exercise, in this case an overhead press and rotation. When and if they happen to finish before time is called, they'll simply repeat the non-anchored exercises for time today, and that's gonna pretty much conclude the 3G. Surges at the top, dumbbell exercises on the rower, and then weight floor is gonna have some repeated efforts when they get into their power anchors. Now, 2G side of things looks pretty similar. We know there's gonna be some variances. So with the treadmill side in the 2G, instead of the 1 rounds that treadmills have, they're gonna go through everything twice. So 2-minute base, 2-minute surge, 2-minute base, 2-minute surge, and then you're gonna see that decrease. Again, base remains at 2 minutes, surges will decrease in time, but asking for a little bit more pace, and then eventually that's leading into their final base to all-out effort. On the weight floor, they're gonna see the exact same anchor block that you see in the 3G. They'll just get a little bit more time to get it done in the 2G setting. And then as you move into block number 2 on the floor, which is technically row block 1, it's going to mirror the 3G row block 1. The single arm high pull, 30-second all-out row. They'll have a better part of 7 minutes to rinse and repeat before their finisher, which is on the rower, that 30-second all-out. Generally, again, both sides are going to be the same. So if you find yourself going from 3G to 2G or vice versa in your day, not a lot has to be changed as far as how you talk and get communication around the room. We know it's going to be a great time as always, as long as the music stays high, and really communicate bass being that huge factor for our treads. They may not get as many splat points today. It's going to be those longer runs, not as high of intensity, but there will be those moments to kind of collect some orange up on that board. You have a great time. Always try to take class if you can and enjoy coaching it.